Good evening and welcome to the Township of Woolwich regular meeting of council on June 23rd, 2026. Welcome to everyone here in the gallery and to all of those watching on YouTube. In the beginning part of the portion of the agenda, we're meeting as council for urgent matters or routine items that typically do not require as much discussion. Pretty much the whole agenda is council tonight, so not to confuse things, I'll just say we're meeting as council, and so decisions that we make tonight are final. I'll start with the roll call of council. I'm Mayor Shantz. I'm chairing this meeting. Councillor Bryant.
Present.
Councillor Burgess.
Present.
Councillor Cadeau.
Present.
Councillor Grant.
Present.
Councillor Schwint.
Present.
Thank you. And before we start, we need to reconvene in open session. A motion to reconvene. Councillor Grant, Councillor Bryant, all those in favor, and that is carried. Thank you. As summer arrives, more children are outside walking, biking, and playing. And I just want to remind all drivers to stay alert and slow down in our neighborhoods. Kids like to have fun. They can be unpredictable near roads, and a few extra seconds of caution can prevent a tragedy. So let's work together to keep our streets safe and ensure every child enjoys a fun and safe summer. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. The Township of Woolwich acknowledges with deep respect that the land we call home has existed since time immemorial, long before our communities were formed and long before we arrived here. Indigenous peoples have had a deep and lasting relationship with this land, caring for it, learning from it, and living alongside all it sustains. We are grateful to the First Peoples who have lived on and cared for this land and who continue to do so today. In particular, we recognize the Chinatan, also known as the Attawandaron, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee people. We honor their deep connection to this land, and we acknowledge their wisdom, resilience, and leadership. These communities have protected and cared for the land with respect, responsibility, and a sense of shared trust. As we move forward, we hope to build a future based on mutual respect, shared responsibility, and stronger relationships with one another. May we continue to learn together, to care for each other, and to honor all who share this place with us. I'm going to declare a pecuniary interest for item number 4.3.2, which is the Gateway Employment Lands Official Plan Amendment. There's a number of delegations on that one, and we own property across the road from there. Anyone else have declarations of pecuniary interest? No, seeing none. There are no items to come forward from closed, no public meeting. We do have several delegations and a presentation this evening. For our delegates, your time limit is posted on the agenda. There will be a timer on the screen, and you will hear a warning sound when you have 1 minute left, and then again when your time is up. Once you're finished, you can return to your seat, and you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting or leave when you wish. Council discussion and debate will start when all questions of clarification have finished. So our first item, I will invite Marie Malcolm, Manager of Recreation Services, and Darcy McVicker, Community Programs and Inclusion Coordinator, to introduce this award.
Thank you, Mayor. Darcy and I are pleased to recognize an individual whose dedication, leadership, and volunteer service has made a lasting impact on our community. The Ontario Senior of the Year Award honors seniors who have enriched the social, cultural, and civic life of their communities through exceptional volunteerism and leadership. This evening, we have celebrating someone who exemplifies those qualities. Our recipient has inspired community connection and active living through their commitment to sharing their passion of pickleball. As a convener for our Breslau Senior Pickleball Program at the Breslau Community Center, they have created a welcoming environment fostering friendship and connectedness. In addition, they play a vital role in our annual pickleball tournament, coordinating activities and securing prizes all year round. I'm not sure how they do it, and helping ensuring a positive experience for all participants. In addition, they established a outdoor pickleball program in Maryhill, which brings residents of all ages and skill levels together throughout the spring and summer months. Their willingness to mentor the new sport and share their knowledge has helped many people build their confidence and become more engaged in the sport. On behalf of the Government of Ontario, the Township, and all those lives that have been positively impacted by their service, we extend our gratitude and appreciation. It is our honor to present the 2026 Ontario Senior of the Year Award to Jan Nielsen.
No, but it's for anyone who's listening.
If I must. I would like to thank the council for this honor. As you know, most accomplishments such as this usually involve a great support team. I'd like to thank my husband and my nephew who are here with me tonight for supporting my involvement in the running of the pickleball programs in Breslau, Maryhill Outdoors, and at the Senior Center in Guelph. I also have great friends who are also involved in the nitty-gritty operations of our programs. Finally, I'd like to thank Marie and Darcy for nominating me, and particularly Darcy, who plans and supports so many activities in Woolwich to encourage our citizens to be engaged and healthy. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you and congratulations. So many of the activities and programs that happen around the township are only possible because of people volunteering their time and talent. So thank you. Next we have, this is the Gateway Employment Lands. So I'm going to leave and Councillor Burgess is going to chair this part of the agenda.
All right, next up, we have 5 delegates who are here to speak to council regarding the Gateway Employment Lands Official Plan Amendment. When you're speaking on a similar topic, I'll remind our delegates that try not to repeat what others have said. Our first delegate tonight is Roseanne, a resident from Martin Grove Road. Please come up to the podium and begin when you are ready.
Hi, I'm Roseanne Argueta. My husband Tomas and I own 1085 Martin Grove Road, which is completely surrounded by the land in the proposed, the rezoning proposal from agricultural farmland to employment. We purchased this home specifically for our retirement years. We invested nearly $200,000 in extensive renovations 5 years ago to create a sanctuary where we could enjoy our remaining active years. This was not a speculative investment, but a carefully considered decision to downsize and establish roots in this quiet countryside community. Converting the surrounding farmland to industrial use while isolating our 1-acre parcel as residential will eliminate our ability to sell the property at fair market value or any reasonable return on our investment, destroy the rural character and peaceful setting that defined our retirement plan, subject our property to industrial scale noise and light pollution, and replace natural vistas with industrial structures and activity. Representatives from CRA Lands have indicated that industrial buildings would have no openings facing our property and therefore no impact to the adjoining residential property. This assurance is inadequate and unconvincing. Industrial operations inherently generate noise, traffic, and environmental impacts that cannot be mitigated by building orientation alone. We would no longer enjoy the clear view of the sunrise each morning and the moonrise each evening. We would not sit on our back deck and see deer, wild turkeys, coyotes, etc., walking through the fields, but rather buildings. There is no need in this area to disrupt the natural habitats of the wildlife or the agricultural pursuits of farmers, as well as will be shown in more detail by my neighbors speaking after me. We have twice been approached by farmers asking who they can contact about renting the land surrounding our house for growing crops. Never once has someone knocked on our door asking if they know of any buildings they could rent to set up shop, because there is an abundance of for lease signs all over Waterloo. We urge council to reject this rezoning proposal and protect the agricultural and residential character of the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for her? All right. Thanks a lot for your presentation and sharing your concerns there. Next up, we have Abdullah. Please come up to the podium when you are ready. And when you're done speaking, if you don't mind, just waiting there and see if there's any questions.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council and fellow neighbors. My name is Abdullah Lawendi and my family owns a property at 1027 Bridge Street West. My parents purchased this property nearly 40 years ago in 1986. My siblings and I grew up there. My parents deliberately chose this property because of its rural character, the surrounding farmland and the open space, and the quiet lifestyle that Woolwich Township offered. This property is much more than a piece of land to our family. It is our family home. It is where we were raised, where family memories were made, and where my parents invested decades of their lives. Because of that deep connection to this property, the proposed changes to the lands directly behind our home are very concerning to us. My first concern is a lack of meaningful public notification and consultation. Many affected residents were unaware of this proposal until after the April council meeting. Several residents only learned about it through conversations with neighbors rather than through the formal notification process. The notice sign placed on Bridge Street was small and difficult to see. We also understand there was no sign placed on Martin Grove Road, despite residents there being directly affected by this proposal. For a development that has the potential to permanently change the community, residents deserve a reasonable opportunity to be informed, ask questions, and participate in the process. Transparency is essential to public trust, and many residents feel they were not given a fair opportunity to engage before the process moved forward. My second concern relates to transportation and public safety, specifically the proposed road network identified as Concept 2. This area is not simply a collection of residential properties, it is an active agricultural community. Farm equipment regularly travels these roads throughout the year and requires safe and practical road connections to move between fields and operations. Many residents have expressed concerns that the proposed road configuration under Concept 2 may create challenges for agricultural traffic and may not adequately account for the realities of farming operations in this area. There are also concerns regarding school transportation. School buses travel these roads numerous times each day, carrying children to and from school. Any road design changes should place safety at the forefront of the decision-making process. Before moving forward with Concept 2, residents deserve a clear explanation on why this option was selected, what alternatives were considered, and how the concerns of local residents, farmers, and families have been addressed. I would respectfully ask the council and staff, why was Concept 2 selected as a preferred option, and what consultation occurred with residents, farmers, and families who currently rely on these roads every day? My third concern is the loss of productive agricultural land. The question many residents continue to ask is simple: why this land and why now? Has a comprehensive review of alternative locations been completed? There are vacant lands, underutilized employment lands, and other potential opportunities that appear worthy of consideration before productive farmland is permanently removed from agricultural use. Residents deserve to understand why this particular land is being targeted and whether other viable alternatives have been properly explored. This proposal affects my family personally. As I mentioned, my parents purchased this property Over 40 years ago, my siblings and I grew up there, and our families has deep roots in this community. More recently, our family began planning to build our new home on the property so that we could continue our future there. We invested significant time, effort, and money into those plans. However, once we became aware of the proposed zoning change and uncertainty surrounding the future of the lands directly behind us, we felt that we had no choice but to pause those plans until this matter is resolved. That decision has already cost us time and money and created uncertainty about decisions we have been planning for quite some time. For my family, this is not a planning exercise. It is affecting real people, real investments, and real plans for the future. I respectfully ask the council to slow this process down and ensure that all affected residents have a meaningful opportunity to participate before final decisions are made. I ask the council to ensure proper public consultation and transparency, fully address transportation and safety concerns associated with Concept 2, clearly explain why Concept 2 has been identified as preferred option, require a thorough review of alternative sites before productive farmland is converted, consider the impact of long-standing residents who will be directly affected by this proposal. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for coming to present. Do we have any questions for the delegate? Go ahead, Councillor Swint.
So maybe more for staff, just for clarification, could staff maybe outline the process this application will go through when it comes back to council? Will the two options be identified and compared, or what are the next steps, just so the audience understands better?
Yes, through Chair Burgess to Councillor Schwint. Question, as we had mentioned at the formal public meeting on April 28th, the application had been circulated and was subject to peer review comments from outside consultants on many of the supporting studies submitted, such as the traffic impact, hydrogeological noise, etc. We received those peer review comments last week. They've been put back to the applicants who are considering them now. There will be some addendums or updated reports required. We'll need those resubmitted before we can consider bringing a recommendation report back to this council. What I would note is the speaker here had mentioned Concept 2 is the preferred concept. We have not indicated any preferred concept from the township or staff's point of view. Concept 2 is preferred as put forward by the applicants. That's their preferred concept. So just wanted to make that clear. We haven't chosen a preferred concept, and we haven't chosen our comments yet on this. The recommendation report is, at least a month or two away before we can consider bringing something back.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Just want to confirm with staff, you guys are taking notes to answer any questions the delegates might have when the report comes back?
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Randy Dyke. Come on up when you're ready. Please put on your mic if you don't mind. There's tab at the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my name's Randy Dyke, and we reside on Martin Grove Road, north of the Martin Creek. Good evening, Mayor, Township Councils, and Township staff representatives. The information in this presentation has been sourced from public accessible documents. At the outset, I would like to address the notification procedures by the Township of Woolwich, particularly from the perspective where a proposal will affect residents in a rural area. The Township selected 150 meters as the distance to notify residents versus the standard Ontario Planning Act minimum of 120 meters. Even with the distance adjusted to 150 meters, the notification procedure for this particular application is unreasonable. Only one resident north of Martin Creek, within 150 meters of the subject lands, received notice. Another resident north of Martin Creek, who is also within 150 meters, did not get notification. All Martin Grove Road residents have only one road entrance and exit off King Street. This road is an essential transit route for all agriculture equipment, 3 nursery trucks, 5 school buses twice daily, access for all emergency vehicles, township graders, snowplows, etc. As such, the 4 additional residents north of Martin Creek, whose properties are beyond the 150 meters, should have been notified. There is only one development application sign posted and located at 985 Bridge Street West. It's only 2 feet by 3 feet. The sign is at the ground level, up against the fence. It's not easily noticed by vehicles driving by. As of today, there is no sign on Martin Grove Road across from Martin Grove Village. Residents are entitled the right to be made aware that a proposal even exists and the opportunity to review and comment on land zoning amendment applications. In 1986, I attended a public meeting held in the Woolwich Township Council chambers. Among those in attendance, the vast majority of residents were from rural settlements and farms. The public seating area was full to overflowing. The township presented an incredibly important bylaw, 55-86, which defined the countryside line boundary, protecting agricultural land and restricting urban expansion. The official draft plan 2051, map 3.1, dated January 27th, 2026, precisely shows the subject lands zoned agricultural use only. This document reinforces and upholds the 40-year-old regional and township bylaw. The consultant's proposal being addressed today disregards the official draft plan 2051 policies and map 3.1. It not only breaches the countryside line boundary, but also proposes to change the zoning. In addition, it proposes to amend township settlement patterns by site-specific policies and mapping. Some clarification would seem to be required to explain why, on map 811, Martin Grove Village is depicted as having a rural employment area boundary drawn around the residential property lines versus labeling it as a rural settlement area only. To the best of our understanding, information was presented at the April 28th public meeting that the aggregate site is not fully rehabilitated back to agricultural land use. The Township of Woolwich Policy 5C72 Part D and the Ministry of Natural Resources Aggregate Resources Act, the Policy 48.1 and 2, specify that aggregate operations are for interim use only, and the entire site be rehabilitated to agricultural use. Once full rehabilitation of the land is completed, it will meet the policy requirements of the township and the province, and then be in compliance with the official zoning as prime agriculture. The planning justification report submitted by the consultant makes reference that an evaluation of an alternative locations was conducted. To the best of our understanding, we are not aware of an alternative site assessment report for review, nor is it listed in the report summary submission. In one brief sentence within the report, section 4.11D, it states, and I quote, "There are limited areas where there are existing aggregate operations that can be rehabilitated to support urban type uses and not impact any surrounding agricultural land uses," end of quote. Alternative site locations limited to existing aggregate operations only in itself suggests an incomplete research analysis of other alternative locations. More importantly, however, the statement completely disregards the requirement by the township and the Ministry of Natural Resources that the site be fully rehabilitated back to agriculture. Even just a few blocks away from the subject lands, one can clearly see a significant number of large-scale commercial industrial buildings that have been sitting unused for many years. These buildings already have zoning and public utility infrastructure in place. There is no reason whatsoever to breach the township boundary into agricultural land. The provincial government has a Grow Ontario strategy which aims to increase agriculture production by 30%. Woolwich Township itself has stated in the official plan 2051, section 3D, and I quote, "Agriculture is a vital contributor to the character and economy of the township," end of quote. The township is committed to an agricultural system protecting the farm base from fragmenting large farm parcels and not allowing urban growth into agricultural areas. The township can mandate the preservation of all 3 subject land parcels totaling 43.53 hectares, 107.1 acres. By this commitment, the township will support the vital economic contribution of agricultural operations in the township. Today, council has an important decision to make, which has significant impacts on the future of our township. Just as the residents of Woolwich Township have committed to the care and productivity of agricultural lands, So too should council in turn be committed to all the residents of Woolwich Township by keeping these subject lands agriculture and instead oppose the official plan amendment application. I thank the mayor and the council for the opportunity to deliver this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Dyke, for presenting all that information and for the research you've done on that. Does council have any questions? Council Bryant?
Thank you, not for the delegate, but for staff.
All right, does anyone have questions for the delegate first? All right, thank you. Mr. Dyke, you can grab a seat and a few questions here for staff.
Thank you. I'm going to ask this one of Victor. Do we know when the pit license was surrendered and have they rehabbed that land, or if not, why not?
I do not, in answer to your question, I do not know when that license was surrendered. If it's been considered sort of lapsed by the ministry, I will find that out and address that in our recommendation reports. The rehabilitation is something that has started and stopped on the lands, as I understand. And it's something that I know the ministry enforces periodically, but not on a regular basis. And until I know these lands have been subject to a couple of land use proposals over the last few years, and I think that has stalled its full rehabilitation
Is
to
it possible
date.
to get answers for us for
Yes.
those questions? Thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Grant?
Thank you. Mr. LaBrush, could you speak a little bit on the current zoning for this property and maybe elucidate on rural employment zoning?
Okay. Through Chair Burgess to Councillor Grant, the current zoning and official plan is agricultural. Sorry, the zoning is extractive zone right now. Official plan is agricultural. So both of those have to change as a result of this application. The rural employment lands is rural employment is I guess implied to be sort of what's considered dry industrial, meaning they don't have access to municipal services. This will not be considered rural. It would be full employment lands. On really, as we stated in the public meeting, it would be light industrial type uses, not certainly heavy. And we would also consider the graduation of certain employment lands from the west side of the property to the east side, slightly maybe more intensified on the east side compared to the west side, which is closer to existing residential. So that would be a consideration. The zoning would, together with a cross-border servicing agreement, which has been acknowledged by the city of Waterloo that they would support for this property, would allow its full industrial, light industrial type land use on full services, subject to cross-border servicing.
Do you still have a question, Councilor Cadeau?
Thanks, Chair, through you. Question for staff. I think that the delegate, Mr. Dyke, made a great point on notifications for rural developments beyond the 120 meters. My understanding is we did 150 meters. Are there differences in rural settlements versus more urban spaces when it comes to those notifications?
In answer to Councillor Cadeau's question, there isn't consideration, I guess, in the Planning Act for those different contexts in terms of circulation requirements. We typically in the township do more than the minimum, acknowledging that some of these properties are rather large, adjacent this subject lands, and as a result, there are a number of them to the north of Martin Grove Road, the north end, that weren't circulated. I mean, I appreciate that the sign there was 2 signs posted on the property. I understand one is now missing for quite some time, and the one facing Bird Street is there. It's rather small, meets our minimum standards, but I think in cases where it's a large property, maybe a 4x8 plywood size would be better. There was notification in the local paper as well as the one sign does exist there, and I'm sure the community, we met with them at the end of May There was a number of them, probably 18 people that attended. So I think the vast majority of the surrounding neighbors are aware of it at this point.
One follow-up question, if I may, if there is a sign missing, is there any intentions on putting it back up or maybe making it a bit bigger so that maybe people who are driving by could see it, might be impacted by it, maybe not being directly adjacent to it as far as being a resident, but it could still impact them in other ways. I'm just wondering if it would be worth putting that back up.
To answer that question, we will speak to the applicants tomorrow on putting the sign back up and making it larger on both frontages.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next up, we have Cheryl Priest. Please come up and start when you are ready.
Good evening. I'm going to talk about groundwater. Urbanizing farmland severely disrupts local hydraulic by creating impervious surfaces that block natural aquifer recharge and redirect rainfall into pollutant runoff. The sprawl permanently destroys highly productive, non-fungible agricultural soils, threatening long-term food security and local economic stability. Once land is paved over and developed, its agricultural viability, hydrology, ecosystem, wildlife is lost forever. You can do all the studies in the world, but they cannot foresee the future. That is why we as society need to stand up for everything that is precious and pure. Quoted from The Threats of Groundwater Resource and Urbanizing Watersheds, the Waterloo Moraine and Beyond. A threat is defined as a condition or activity, past, present, future, that is impacting or has the potential to impact or the quality or quantity of groundwater resource. It is constant with the term drink water threat defined by the Clean Water Act. My argument is for blocked infiltration. Paved surfaces, rooftop prevent precipitation from naturally soaking into the ground, drastically reducing groundwater recharge. Heavy construction machinery packs soil down, destroying its natural ability to absorb water. Grading land and digging deep foundations can intersect and redirect underground water veins away from the farms. Long-term environmental risks, permanent qualifier contamination. Unlike organic farm waters, industrial contaminants like PFAS, forever chemicals, or petroleum products do not break down easily and are incredibly costly to filter out. Airborne pollutants in rainwater, factory emissions can contaminate local rainfall, which then washes directly into the soil and shallow groundwater. There was a quote, I'm doing a quote, planning justification report number 5.8. As the soils are anticipated to provide appropriate infiltration and the water table is deep. Why are the surrounding water wells, rivers, streams going dry? Explain how they know the depth of the water table. How does the developer plan to correct the geological materials that is needed to filtrate the groundwater in this area since they have extracted? Well water testing panel. Will a certified laboratory be contacted prior to development to request a baseline testing of wells that will include heavy metals, volatile organic compounds, industrial solvents, petroleum hydrocarbons, diesel range organics, gas line range organics, agricultural and general makers to prove any existing agricultural baseline? We would like to know if we are going to be in the same situation as the residents having been fighting with Uniroyal Chemical, Lannex now, about the chemical contamination in their tap water and creeks. I would like also to know, is Woolwich Township and the Ontario government going to stand behind the landowners in their, if there is a PFAS contamination from the proposed development now and in the future? Would like to see the study record of site condition assessments. Recharge areas. Recharge areas infiltrate a significant amount of water into the subsurface. Sometimes these areas are concentrated, covering a small part of the total land area. For instance, 80% of the groundwater recharge may occur in 20% of the land area that has more permeable sand and gravels. In other places with a flat landscape or low permeability soil such as clays and silt, a small amount of infiltration may take place over a large area. Wherever precipitation happens, there is potentially for more amounts of infiltration and recharge to occur. Runoff and contamination. Increased runoff sweeps urban pollutants like road salts, heavy metals, and lawn chemicals into the watershed, degrading water quality and bypassing natural soil infiltration. Plan justification report number 5.8. It is recommended that long-term monitoring to be completed as the application progresses in the in-situ infiltration test be considered for low-impact design requirements. It is also recommended that additional geotechnical investigation be conducted once preliminary plans are finalized, addressing further geotechnical design recommended tailored to the proposed development as required. Why are these studies being long-term monitored as the application progresses? What is an in-situ infiltration test? Why is it only to be considered and not mandatory to perform? If there are any negative findings, will we be informed? Will this put a hold on the development? If so, how will this be fixed? Since once you start the process, you will not be able to turn back. What specific containment infrastructure will be legally mandated to prevent industrial chemical spills, PFAS, from leaching into our shared qualifiers? Will developer be required to post a financial bond to pay for drilling new, deeper wells for neighbors? And if our water levels drop or become contaminated? Am I done?
30 seconds left.
Oh.
So.
Well, I'm not even going to be able to go through all this because this is a big subject. So it's just in expansion of urbanization has brought in an increase in previous areas, thus decreasing natural infiltration and increasing precipitation runoff. Densely populated urban centers require a dense network of transportation, waste facilities, and various types of industrial development. Combined with the enhanced...
You can just finish your train of thought there and summarize if you want.
This concentration of potentially pollutant activities has resulted in accelerated transfer of wide spectrum of anthropogenic contaminants to the shallow subsurface and surface water systems, threatening both groundwater and surface water qualities. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. And thanks for the comments there on the groundwater. Does council have any comments or questions for her? Go ahead, Councillor Schmidt.
Just wondering if the delegates could maybe forward their presentations, if they can get through them to the clerk's office for distribution.
Yes, I've already handed it in.
Awesome.
I think it's included in the agenda here.
Yep.
Go ahead, Councillor Goodall.
Yeah, just following up on Councillor Schwinn's train of thought, there were some additional questions that you didn't get to. So those have been put in the public record, and I know that staff will be getting to those just for your information.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions? All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks again. Sorry, that's a long talk.
That's good. All right, we have our last delegate for this topic here. We got Robert Albrecht. Please come forward when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Albrecht. I live at 1175 Martin Grove Road. We built a new home on this property just the past 2-3 years. My property is directly adjacent to the subject lands, actually overlooks them too. So our family has a tree farm on this property as part of John's Nursery, which is my mother and father. We've operated in the community for 60 years plus. I'm here this evening to discuss some concerns regarding the proposed industrial development between Martin Grove Road and Bridge Street in Woolwich. I do urge council to vote against rezoning this land. This subject lands are currently designated as prime agricultural land in the township's official plan. I know this is repeating something, but and are currently being used for farming as far as we can tell. We do see various farm operations going on at the moment. The proposed plans redirection of traffic would also cause issues for our business. We operate slow-moving tractors and wagons that transport trees and materials from our farm to our garden center on Lobsinger Line. Any additional traffic created by this development would be of concern. In addition, we do rent out some farmland to crop farmers that operate oversized tractors that travel down Martin Grove Road and some of the surrounding roads as well. Just to retouch on the water issues, we do, in order to protect our own water source, we do have a natural spring on our property, which does run through a few of the other properties as well. We do strive to grow our trees naturally, so we don't use any synthetic or chemical fertilizers, herbicides, or insecticides. It's all manual cultivation and try to keep it as natural as possible to keep things healthy. On the plan, I did notice the proposed stormwater pond was directly across from our irrigation pond. That's a concern just because the contaminants and runoff that would be in that stormwater pond would be very close to our water source. To touch back on the notification, we weren't notified by the township of the proposal until after the April 28th meeting. Maybe by mistake, it might have gone to a different address at the time. We didn't have a mailbox at the time, but we did have a mailbox on the front of our house. In addition, there were no other signs posted. I know this has been mentioned several times on Martin Grove or King Street. The single sign is quite small and not very visible. Over 20 years ago, my father planted hundreds of trees down in the valley along Martin Creek. This creek was on the south side of our property. This was to increase the habitat for deer and turkey and other of the wildlife that in the area. It was a shame to destroy this natural habitat for that area with industrial buildings going beside it. I do love Woolwich. Wonderful farms, businesses, residents that live here and work. I am saddened and concerned about this proposal and the impact that it has. In response to this issue, our residents of Martin Grove Road and Bridge Street neighbors have circulated a petition in addition to signs to protect farmland that they've displayed on their properties. We have many signatures already on the petition and look forward to more. Farmland is the heart of this community. Once this precious land is lost, it's lost forever. I do urge council to vote against rezoning this land. Just a note that we found, estimated 319 acres of farmland is redeveloped daily in Ontario. It'd be a shame for this to be part of it as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for the delegate from council? All right, seeing none. Thanks a lot. I guess just a general comment from staff, if you could just share, I guess, a timeline or kind of what the next steps are for residents to kind of understand where this process is going for this property.
Yes, through you, Chair Burgess. As I mentioned, we did meet with the residents. A number of them spoke to this evening. There's probably double the amount in our meeting at the end of May. We took meeting notes of that, which will be distributed. I have those and will be circulating them this week to the residents who left their contact information. We're waiting for the applicants to respond to the peer review comments. We would anticipate that would probably take 2 to 3 weeks before we'll get responses from them. We need to assess them, feel comfortable with them. So it's likely 6 weeks to 8 weeks before we're ready to bring back a recommendation report to this council. Approximately.
Yeah, thank you. And then, yeah, they'll have more time to discuss at that point when it comes to council.
Yes.
All right, thanks a lot. Any other questions or comments? See none, we'll be going on to the next item and we'll call Mayor Shantz back.
Thanks. The next item on the agenda is 1805 Sawmill Road. Am I in the right place, Clerk? We have Delegate Janice Mitchell, owner of 1805, and Craig Ritchie, Sherwood Project Manager. Welcome.
Thank you. Craig is going to join for questions if needed. I'll do the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Janice Mitchell, and together with my husband, we are the owners of 1805 Sawmill Road, the Conestoga Mill, and the future site of the Sherwood Music Center. We're here tonight to speak specifically to an item related to the development, specifically the proposed water meter in relation to the water service that we will be putting in. But before we get started, I think I'll just give a little bit of an overview in terms of who we are and what we're up to. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with it. So a bit of an overview. Sherwood is a family-run business. We've been operating in the region in Kitchener for since about 1969 in one form or another. It includes a retail music store, lessons, as well as audio, lighting, staging, production, and installations. So chances are, if you're a musician or if you're out and about in the community at a festival or a speaking event, you likely have come across our staff and our equipment and seen the Sherwood crew supporting the arts and technology within the region. So in 2024, we learned that we would need to leave our building in Kitchener due to some expropriation and creek rehabilitation that was being done. And we started looking for a new home and landed on the mill. So we were very happy to be able to purchase it in 2025 and move forward with our permits and approvals to make it a great space to accommodate our business. Just doodly over there. Okay, there we go. So in terms of status, things have come along really well. This is a picture of the retail showroom, part of the retail showroom space. We're essentially complete inside, and of course it's fully accessible with an elevator, accessible washrooms, entrances, etc. Good news story, we've been able to reuse some of the historic building materials, beams that needed to be removed for structural purposes, and we've been able to repurpose them into stairways and other locations on site. So there's some really good news stories there. In the exterior, there's lots of activity. If you're driving by, you'll see some stairwells being built, fire escapes, landscaping and paving. Our on-site services, storm and septic, are complete, and we're moving now on to water, hopefully, which is what brings us here to talk to council tonight, specifically with regard to the location of the water meter. So we do have a site plan agreement, a registered site plan agreement for the lands and a site servicing plan, and it requires the location of the water meter to be close to the property line in an above-ground heated chamber. So as we've moved forward with the development, it's proving a little bit problematic for our site. I don't think I can point there, but the Sawmill Road runs along the northern property boundary. And from that point, there's a dramatic drop off all along the frontage of the site. So it's difficult to find a location for a water meter close to the property line. This area one that's shown in the far at the east end of the site is the proposed area now. And we're having some trouble with it because it's a fairly small area. We need to be able to fit the water meter, some landscaping, and it's also the entry into our site. So a lot of traffic in terms of the main entry and egress from the site. I'll just show you a picture. There we go. So it looks like this. It's a fairly small area. And the tree line along the back represents the top of an embankment. So there's a dramatic drop there, estimated about 40-foot drop there. So the meter would be fairly close to that embankment. We're quite concerned about the safety of putting a water meter there where people would need to access it for service. And of course, bringing the water line into that area and then back out, it would certainly affect the slope or the stability of the bank, I would think. So we're a bit concerned about that. We've worked with staff in terms of looking at this, and I think they would agree it's not an ideal location. But we have proposed a preferred location. So working with our plumbing consultants and our fire protection consultants, as well as our architect, we would like to council to consider moving the water meter inside of the building. This is the schematic that shows the red box inside the building would be where the meter could be located in a secure climate-controlled space with safe direct access. We would, of course, provide the township with 24/7 access. It would be heated. There's parking immediately adjacent. And of course, it would be much more energy efficient because we wouldn't have to heat an exterior chamber. And it would also be less risk of freezing in inclement weather and more economical in the long term as well. So in conclusion, we are suggesting that the proposed meter location exterior to the building is challenging due to some site constraints, as well as other concerns, including the environment, economy, and whatnot. And we would propose that the meter be located within the building in a secure, dedicated utility room. We would, of course, be willing to work with staff to address issues that they may have with regard to installation, security, access. We think most of those issues can be easily addressed, or all of those issues. And a reminder, we do have a registered site plan agreement for the lands. So any changes or requirements with regard to those mechanisms for access, et cetera, would bind us as well as future owners of the land. We did submit a brief that has this request on it. I understand you didn't get it just till fairly late in the process, but you do have that in front of you hopefully now. Essentially what we're requesting is that council support us in our request to provide the proposed water meter for the new water service within a building rather than at the edge of the property on top of the embankment. Oh, there it is. And the second part is, of course, where we would be happy to work with staff to address any issues with regard to access, security, et cetera. So we had one last slide, which is basically a thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And we are here to answer any questions, myself and my husband, Tim, as well as Craig Ritchie, who's our project manager, who's been working with staff and our plumbing consultants in an attempt to try to address this matter and find a solution that can work for all. I probably have a few seconds left, so I'll just say the picture there is actually the third floor space within the mill with great high ceilings. That'll be studio space for things like recitals and camps and clinics and things like that. So we're pretty proud of the space, and we're really looking forward to welcoming the community when we can. Thank you.
It looks like an exciting project. Are there questions for the delegate? Councillor Bryant.
Thank you. Through you to the delegate. Your proposed area for the water meter, excuse me, has a direct outside access, does it not? That's locked, that staff could get into, look at the
Yes.
meters. Is it accessible from the inside as well? I've been through the building and I can't remember, to be honest.
So it's a dedicated utility room. So you would enter the basement into a common area, and Craig is going to come and join, and then would go directly into the utility room from there.
That they can get in from the outside?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Others? No. Councillor Schwint.
So this would be similar to a residential water meter in a basement scenario where I guess I'm thinking of a house in a Meyer where there's water meter in a cold room off the basement. Very similar type access.
I believe it would function the same way in that there would be an exterior sensor, so that the unit itself and the backflow prevention would be in the building in a climate controlled area, but it could have a sensor for an external reading or direct access in whatever way the township would prefer in terms of keypad or key to actually enter the space.
Anything else for the delegations? No. Okay, thank you. Are there questions for staff? Counselor Bryant and Counselor Burgess.
Thank you. I guess this would be for staff. I've been through the building and it is beautiful what has been done with it. I have to give them credit for that, but is this something we can work with? I understand there are issues because having been there, it's difficult to get in and out with the slope and try and build on top of that hill. And the other area behind the house, you just can't put a meter there. It's impossible because of the slope where the road falls off to where the buildings are.
Ms. Freeze, Mr.
Lori and Carter are here. That'd probably be better to answer. Lori is online.
Okay, Ms. Fox.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. Yes, so we have worked with this applicant for the past several months to try to come up with a solution that best serves their use there and the very unique grades and topography of this site. Typically and very consistently, staff ask for the water meter and backflow prevention area or space to be located either at or close to the front property line. This is to provide, to help with water safety, to ensure the municipal water supply is safe from contamination. Worker safety, of course, is paramount to provide safe access to the bulk meter and backflow prevention structures for staff during routine inspections, maintenance, and emergency situations, and to ensure reliable year-round access to the meter. Obviously, if you've seen this site and the unique, like we said, the unique topography of the site, it's very steep going down to the main building that they're in the middle of renovating. It's also, having the meter up closer to the property line ensures accurate meter reading is maintained, less water loss throughout the site. And it also reduces township involvement on the private site. So permission to enter when the building is not occupied and things like that. The industry does, speak to avoiding long service runs between the street main and the meter, which could have an increased risk of leaks and pressure loss and things like that. So when we looked at this site, there's been several options that have been floated of what we could do. And it really has come back to that the main building isn't in a proper location to ensure all the requirements the township has. Our standards don't have a maximum setback or a maximum length of the water service between the main to the meter room. However, I did a quick check to see what other municipalities use for that number and also what is sort of standard engineering practice for that, and it would be about 30 meters. The building itself, if you were to measure parallel from the street line to the building itself, it's about 32 meters. But of course, the issue is that topography and to getting access to the meter room that they're proposing in the building is closer to 75 meters once you're talking about the driveway and the access down into it. So we also looked at things like below grade meter chambers, but we don't permit those because they require some specialized confined space training and it's not safe for our workers to do things like that. And plus those type of structures tend to fill up with water as well. They're not really accessible. So really making sure that we have access to the meter and the backflow prevention for maintenance. We do maintenance on that meter is owned by the township. We do maintenance on it, inspection of it. And then in the case of emergency, we may have to shut off at the meter or at the backflow prevention device if there are leaks detected or other maybe emergency uses. And accessing down to the building could be a challenge during the winter months, of course, with snow and ice and that topography that we talked about. So for that reason, staff recommended that either a meter chamber These are, you could buy these devices. They're heated above ground meter chambers. They're very similar looking to a hydro vault or something like that. The lid comes off of it to give access for maintenance and inspection, or to build a small shed. I know that the property owners have looked into that as well, building a small shed up in that small flat area that that the applicant showed on the screen. That's an option as well for them to do that.
Okay, thank you.
If I could add
Miss
to what Lori was saying,
McGuire.
our current bylaw for water servicing has a distance if it's 23 meters. If the service is longer than 23 meters, then it does stipulate that the meter is put at property line. So it is in our current bylaw. The second thing that I've through this site, while looking at the servicing, is the backflow prevention through that bylaw. It requires the site to be protected, the entire site. Based on the current makeup of the servicing, there's hydrants that are between the road and the building. That would not be an acceptable practice to have the backflow past that hydrant source, because that would be a source of contamination, and it would negate the protection of that backflow device to have it past the hydrant at those properties. So the backflow would have to be prior to any of the connections or access points to that service, prior to the building, to be able to protect the water system in that area.
Is the water supply and the hydrant on the same line?
It is the same line, so that if the hydrant, so it's a 6-inch service that we're protecting that's going into service that property, 150 mil service, which is also the fire service and the potable water service for that property. There is a hydrant identified between the property, like between the building and the street as you come down the entrance. The backflow for protection of that property would have to put upstream of any of those connections through the pipe. So if the fire hydrant is required at that point of the property, then the backflow prevention has to be installed prior upstream of that.
Councillor Cadeau.
Thanks. Through you, could we do like a hybrid approach whereby you install something at the property line, but you could still have the water meter closer? I'm trying to follow.
Both of those items require a heated, protected space.
Okay.
And they're typically, the backflow has to be installed within a certain distance from the meter, based on the standardized detail for meter and backflow for a 150 mil service.
Councillor Grant and Councillor Schwinn.
Would it be possible for us to get a map of some sort so we can have an idea of where the hydrant is sitting? Like, I have a hard time conceptualizing. Like, I know what the property looks like, but just have a hard.
There was one in the submission. There was a drawing where they showed the squares.
That did show that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 1, 2, 3, fourth slide. Oh, there it is on the screen.
Yeah, maybe if Carter could show us where it is.
So the hydrant identified right here. This is the location of the backflow, or you're requesting the backflow. Oh, sorry, gotta carry the mic. So the servicing comes in and then carries down and then to the building, but this is a location of a hydrant on that service line as it heads towards the building. So any backflow prevention has to be in this portion of the pipe between the main and where that hydrant would be.
Councillor Schwinn.
So I'm guessing that those two hydrants are remnants of the feed mill days. And they need,
No?
no?
We're forced to have, we were required to have a private hydro service, or hydrant from. Hydrant will be, it'll be a return line from post, post feed. Not through the pipe, it's a return line.
Well, why don't you come up to the mic?
You know, it is as far as that PC addressed. If there's a 23 meter bylaw, then we weren't made aware of that. No one's can produce anything to show. city water uses 100.
But
Councillor
there'd be
Schmidt.
two lines. One line bypassing the hydrant, so to speak. First,
That's how, that way it's post. Me. And still it's protected. Then. The return line to the pipe.
What is the time? I'll ask staff so you don't have to come to the mic, but what is the timeline on this if we were to defer it or get more information on it?
Through the mayor or to the mayor. They already have their site plan agreement. It's registered. They've already done that. The proposal on the site plan agreement and on the engineering for that was for them to put the small meter chamber out near the road allowance. But it's just through, I suspect through their getting ready to build, so they discovered the challenges involved with doing that. So the timeline would only be what time the applicant needs for this decision to sort of continue on with their construction.
Okay, Councillor Bryant and then Councillor Burgess. Did I miss you before? I think I skipped over you. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Councillor Bryant.
Do you currently have water going to the house from a municipal service? So they've brought the water down as far as the house and then it's going back to the hydrant? No, I'm getting confused on where this water.
Yeah, come up to the mic, please.
So there's water that goes directly into the house. That is a separate service.
Is it from a municipal well?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, no, not a
Is it from
municipal
a
well.
well?
No, it's not a well.
It's municipal water.
Municipal water,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So then this 6-inch line, what we would like to do is bring this 6-inch line directly into the mill building. We would put our water meter and our backflow prevention in the building and then return it to this fire hydrant that we also have to pay for and install.
Councillor Burgess. Apologies.
Well, my original question was already answered, so just a new one. The delegate touched on our bylaw is different than other cities, so was it 23 meters originally you said? Is that kind of standard or kind of what are the other municipalities look like and where are we getting that?
So unfortunately, our bylaw is was 1987. It's the bylaw 1987 is our current water servicing. We are trying to update that, but and we would carry through. We are kind of using area municipalities as a template for the bylaw change, but we're not there. So we're currently under our existing of 187.
Have you done the homework on that and do you have a ballpark on where we're going? If we're going that route anyways, we might as well kind of look at them.
Offhand, I do not know. So I know it's in draft. We've done a draft to try and update our bylaw, knowing that it was from 1987, but I'd have to get back to you with what the distance is on the draft version that we have. So that's why I'm relying on the existing that we have for the 23 meters.
Can I also make a note about that? We've asked several times for a piece of legislature that defines any of this, and we've not been given this. So we were not aware of this until minutes ago.
Councillor Cadell.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you, more for staff. If we were to go one way or the other, area 1, area 2, sorry, if the residents were to go one way or another, would the township be out any money one way or another? In other words, who's paying for it?
Mr. McGuire, Ms. Fox, Ms. Freeze, who wants to answer that?
I can start anyway, and then Carter or Deanne could add, but so all the costs associated with the connection of the water service and the installation of the meter and the backflow prevention, that would be on the applicants. So the township doesn't, they pay for that installation and supply of the meter, the purchase of the meter.
Okay, thanks. Anything to add? Ms. Freeze, Mr. McGuire?
Nothing.
No, okay. Councillor Grant.
Thank you through you to the rest of council. I agree with the applicant's concern about the placement at the top of the driveway. It is a difficult entrance, and when we consider staff safety, they'd be parking right there at the top of a fairly busy street. And it's a bit of a blind corner. That being said, I would put forward a motion to approve the relocation of the water meter, associated equipment. I'm fine with how they've written it. I can defer to Jeff to nuance it if he needs to. And then they especially direct township staff to work with them to kind of come to an agreeable, knowing that we are updating our bylaw. I think this is a good opportunity for us to maybe work through some of those older constraints from the existing bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Seconding, Councillor Schwint, Councillor Bryant.
Yeah, just a comment. Yeah, when I see that the water line currently already comes to the house, it's not that far to the main building where they want to put it. Do we know how many feet you are from the house to the main building? I've been there, but I couldn't tell you the distances.
I mean, between the two buildings, it's, I don't know, 150, 200 feet. But that's almost irrelevant because it's two separate water services.
Councillor Burgess.
Thanks through you, Mayor Shawns. Thanks for putting that motion forward. Just to clarify, since we are looking at approving this, I just want to touch on what Lori or Carter, if they can repeat what they said. There's some risk, but is there anything specific we need to put in this motion that covers us or that needs to be changed or anything, or you guys can talk about that behind the scenes?
I do feel that maybe is covered by point 2 there, where it's working with township to address any of the concerns. That would probably include the risks associated to try and mitigate those as much as possible. But that would be a direction towards staff to kind of work through those concerns.
Yeah. Mr. Brenneman.
Yeah, just through you, Madam Mayor, I think staff may have covered this off, but in case they didn't, I know one of the things that had come up when I was briefed was trying to balance confined space and the safety of staff in terms of doing their inspections and review.
So that would fall under the second point there. Yeah. All right, if Ms. Freeze.
I was just going to comment on that. I think Lori and Carter have explained it well, that we have policies in place and there is risks to this approach, which is why council or staff does not support it. I think that it's council's ability to approve what they want us or direct us in the way that they want to direct us. But I think there's got to be an understanding that there is risk and it's not going to be able to be mitigated. And that's just something that we'd have to take on.
Is there not also risk of reading a meter that's right by a busy road on a corner? Yeah. Okay.
And just to be clear, the backflow meter is going to be before the 2 hydrants because it's a loop.
It's just one hydrant, and yes, it would be before it.
Staff concur.
Mr. McGuire.
That would be direct non-compliance to our backflow prevention bylaw if it was the hydrant was before the backflow.
No,
sorry.
backflow would be before
Before
the hydrant.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor? That's carried. Sorry. Did you want to?
Sorry, Ms. Shantz, I just had it up on the screen while you were voting, but.
Okay. That's carried.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to your grand opening. Water allocation policy, Director of Development Deanne Freeze will present her report on the water allocation. An ongoing thing that we're looking forward to getting resolved as well.
Yes,
Welcome.
so I have a brief presentation, just pull up on the screen. So we can go to the first slide. So as council is aware, and as many developers are aware, there has been a water capacity issue that was identified in the region of Waterloo. I won't go through all the history of how we got to this point, but to summarize, the capacity issue was identified back in December 2025. And since then, the region has the regional council has accepted a risk-based approach and established a regional allocation policy. And as of last week, the region agreed to allocate additional water supply starting in July to the area municipalities that are affected by this. Initial allocation was identified for the township of Woolwich based on a proportional share at 0.35 liters per second. But as of last week, the region has identified that there will be 20 liters per second that would be provided in July to the area municipalities, and the proportional share to the township would be significantly more than 0.35. Originally, the proportional share was estimated at 14%, so 14% of the 20 liters per second that would be released in July, minus some residual capacity. So we don't know the exact number of what would be available, but it would be somewhere along those lines. Moving on to the next slide. The report that you have in front of you today includes Woolwich water supply policy. We need this in place prior to the July allocation of the water in order to be able to allocate to individual development applications. Just to summarize what the water policy is saying, it's assigning water capacity on a quarterly basis. So the initial allocation would be prior to that quarterly, but moving forward, and in the longer term, we would be looking at allocations on a quarterly basis through a process and a procedure that's identified in the policy that would require applicants to submit a water capacity application form, and then staff would review and provide water allocation confirmation. This is something that we are recommending be delegated to the Director of Development Services, myself, but we've also added in an appeal mechanism, again, sticking with staff, and appeal mechanism to senior management team. There's also an ability for staff to enter into forward-facing servicing agreements for developments that will need water in the future, so longer-term developments like plans of subdivision that need some confirmation that there will be water capacity that would be allocated to them, but they don't necessarily need to take that water in the immediate and be allocated it right away to use that. We also have included in the policy some use it or lose it provisions or expiry of the water allocations, and that is based on developments that get their capacity assigned to them or get a forward-facing agreement, but then don't proceed through to actually developing the application. This would be in order to prevent the water capacity while there is limited capacity from being held up and not being able to let other developments go ahead. Lastly, the water supply policy includes a prioritization framework. This prioritization framework would be used only when there's multiple developers requesting a limited capacity that would be available in any allocation. The prioritization framework, which is included in your report on in the allocation policy, includes prioritization based on affordability, readiness to proceed, and other factors such as economic development or infrastructure opportunities or community benefits to the township. Moving on to the last slide. The recommendation that's required before you now is to adopt the water allocation policy to direct the Director of Development Services to be that delegated approval, and to accept also in the report, we've added an initial priority list just because we're at such a tight timeline now with getting a policy in place and getting that allocation in July. We've asked council to approve the initial priority list for the first allocation rather than going through the quarterly process with reviewing applications. They would still be required after this meeting to submit a water capacity request form, which is included in the report as well. We would take that form in. It would help us for our tracking, but then we would have the initial priority list that was endorsed by council as well. Since the release of this, because it has been a very quick process to release a policy, and that was purposeful because we do want to be prepared for that July allocation, and we don't have any subsequent meetings from council in July. We are recommending that the allocation policy that has been the revised policy that's in front of you today be accepted by council, but it does have some edits that have been provided since the original release of the report to respond to some of the development community questions that have been raised. There are two submissions, one from Polo Corp and one from Hawkridge requesting allocation. After council accepts this policy, any applicant, including Hawkridge and Polo Corp, are welcome to submit a allocation request, and we will work with them to either allocate or to work through a forward-facing agreement for future allocations. So that is something that can be addressed outside of the policy. We also received comments from Thomasfield, and we've added to priority 2 to accommodate existing draft approved plans which have significant infrastructure investment. We realize that that is important. That's makes a lot of sense from the township perspective as well. So we've added that into priority 2. We've received comments from a previous draft that was released from the Home Builders Association. Those comments have resulted in some changes to the allocation policy, which are also addressed in attachment 6 of this report to explain what has been addressed, what hasn't, and why. And we've received a submission from Ryan Mounsey, who's also identified another gap that would include other types of housing that are not limited to affordable housing. So we've added to priority 2 that housing that advances other housing objectives in the official plan or in our housing needs assessment, including things like missing middle, rental, attainable housing, and intensification. All other changes that are included that are in highlighted and stroke out in the attached or in the bylaw that's policy that's provided to you today and was also available outside and I've sent out to interested individuals are mostly for clarity and for further alignment with the City of Kitchener and the City of Waterloo. So we are trying to align the policy as closely as we can, even if there's smaller nuances, but the attachment to the policy that identifies our priorities will differ between the municipalities in order to address specific area municipality priorities. Also, because we are the first municipality that are coming forward with a policy, and it's a short time frame, and we would like this policy adopted before July, we have, or I am suggesting that outside of the 2-year time frame for review of this policy, that we may need to look at it a lot earlier, depending on how this works when we start to roll out the policy, and depending on additional comments and changes that come forward when City of Waterloo, Kitchener, and Cambridge bring their policies forward. We may need to come forward to council much sooner in August, September with a amendment to this policy to figure out those types of things as well. Right now, we do have some anticipated timing for the cities. Kitchener is planning on going next week. Waterloo is going mid-July, and Cambridge is planning on going to their council end of July. But all of the cities and with us as the township are trying to align as closely as we can on the policy. Any questions?
Questions? Councillor Schwint.
I know this has been a tough one. Appreciate all the work that's happened by all staff levels. I am curious on use it or lose it though. So I think that is important. And I can see how you can have that on new agreements. Is there any mechanism for previous allocations of water for use it or lose it, or is that kind of there forever?
For previous allocations, no, there wouldn't be a mechanism for use it or lose it. These would apply for new ones going forward. There would also be opportunities through agreements with developers and forward-facing agreements that if there were items that were outside of the control of the developer, we can extend those timeframes as well. But this is kind of intended to give initial guidance for that we expect developments that start to proceed if they're given that water capacity.
So in our mega meeting last Wednesday, there was some discussion about previously assigned water that's not used. Did in your staff meetings, have you discussed that at all? Because the impression I was left with is that it needs to be reallocated.
So I think there are some situations in the city of Kitchener and city of Waterloo where they've had building permits that have been issued, so therefore water has been allocated, but they haven't gone ahead with building. We are not in that situation in the township of Woolwich. The water that has been assigned is to plans of subdivision that are proceeding.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful. Other questions? No? Okay, we do have a number of delegations, so we'll proceed with those. First is Tom McLaughlin, Vice President of Thomas Field Homes. Welcome, Mr. McLaughlin.
Thanks for having me. Mayor Shantz and members of council, first off, I want to thank Mayor Shantz and the regional council for kind of the marathon sessions they've had trying to resolve and trying to find a solution through this this water crisis. And I really do appreciate kind of your leadership and the regional council's leadership on this. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Tom McLaughlin. I'm the Vice President of Thomas Field Homes. We have several developments in the Breslau area, specifically the Hopewell Crossing subdivision, which we're kind of hoping to bring on the third phase. I'm going to keep my presentation brief. I want to thank Deanne and all and staff for kind of listening. I know it's a very short time frame, and we do appreciate the changes that were made, and we understand this is a living document, and I appreciate why this needs to be approved quickly. And so our recommendation is that this gets approved. You know, I think we're gonna have to work through the kinks, but it's a positive development. Hopefully, we can see some development actually reoccurring in Breslau and Woolwich over the next couple of months because of it. And so I want to keep my kind of comments brief. And I think our request was pretty straightforward, and I think it was adapted into the staging policies. So I do appreciate that. I'm here to answer any questions, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there questions for Mr. McLaughlin? No? Okay, thanks for your support, and I'll echo his thanks to Deanne and her team. I know that it's been quite a ride and it's not over yet, so appreciate your work, and you know, kind of proud that we're the first ones to bring this forward. And I know you had it ready 2 weeks ago with yeah, some work in between. So next delegate is Larry Mascio. He's virtual. He's a policy advisor at Waterloo Regional Home Builders Association. Welcome. Start whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Shantz, members of council. My name is Larry Mascio, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Waterloo Region Home Builders Association. Our association did provide comments previously to the first draft of the water allocation policy, and we raised a number of concerns at that time. Since then, staff have made a number of revisions to the draft policy in response to those comments, and we certainly appreciate the willingness of staff, and particularly Dion Fries, to listen to our concerns and work toward a more balanced policy. So with that, we recognize the challenges that the township and quite frankly, we're all facing. And while no policy is perfect under these circumstances, we believe the revisions tonight represent a meaningful step forward and provide a much more balanced framework for allocating available capacity. So on behalf of the WRHBA, I'd like to thank staff and council for consideration of our comments and for committing to ongoing engagement with the industry. So we look forward to continuing to work collaboratively with staff as additional capacity becomes available and the framework evolves. So with that, we'll keep it short. I just want to thank you for your time this evening. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions for Mr. Mascio? No, I'm not seeing any. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jennifer Ricci, representing owners of 21 Arthur Street in Elmira. Ms. Ricci, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Johnson, members of council. I'm the solicitor for 100918470 Ontario Inc., the owners of 21 Arthur Street, Elmira. I appear before council this evening in support of the Development Services staff report and respectfully request that council approve the proposed water allocation policy, including the recommended criteria and priorities that identify projects eligible to receive the available water allocation at this time. The township and region have undertaken a comprehensive and measured approach to address the current water servicing constraints affecting development within the region. While these challenges are significant, a complete halt to development is neither practical nor sustainable. Now, recognizing this, the township and the region have established objective criteria, balanced criteria, and priorities to ensure that the limited servicing capacity at this time is allocated to projects that provide the greatest community benefit and that are positioned to proceed immediately. At this stage, it is important that council move forward with the proposed policy and allocate available capacity based on the criteria that have been established based on the comments that we've received here from all the partners who've contributed to establishing this policy. Further delay would unnecessarily impede priority projects that are ready to deliver the much needed housing and community benefits. Now, speaking to my client's lands in particular, the proposed redevelopment at 21 Arthur Street is a priority project that clearly satisfies the objectives of the proposed water allocation policy. And some of the key considerations to include are that the project has actively been progressing through planning approvals for almost 9 years. It will provide 53 new purpose-built rental units in the heart of downtown Elmira. The development directly supports provincial and municipal housing objectives by increasing the supply of attainable and long-term rental housing. The project incorporates a significant community and nonprofit component through its partnership with the Trinity United Church. The redevelopment will restore a permanent home for the church congregation whose former church building has already been demolished, and advancing this project will ensure that parishioners are no longer displaced and will once again have a dedicated place of worship and community gathering. The site is located within the township's urban core and is supported by existing municipal infrastructure. And the project will provide housing opportunities that support independent living, including accommodations well suited to seniors and those seeking age in place. Importantly, this project is fully approved and ready to proceed immediately upon the receipt of water allocation. And all planning approvals, specifically all planning approvals, have been obtained from both the township and the region. Servicing capacity was previously confirmed, remains consistent with capacity identified through the region's most recent risk assessments and allocation frameworks. And the site plan agreement has been executed and is ready for registration. Building permits has been reviewed and commented on and completed to my knowledge, with all technical requirements satisfied. And at this point, from the owner's perspective, construction trades have been retained, deposits have been paid, and the project team is prepared to commence construction immediately. The only remaining obstacle preventing the issuance of the final building permit is timing of the water allocation and capacity allocations for this project. So my request to council is, given the significant housing benefits, community value, advanced stage of approvals, and immediate readiness to proceed, we respectfully request that council approve the water allocation policy as recommended in the staff report and confirm that 21 Arthur Street, Elmira, as a priority project eligible to receive water allocation. This project represents a rare opportunity to develop purpose-built rental housing, support a long-standing faith community, and advance a fully approved development that is ready to break ground without delay. those are my comments for this evening. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to entertain. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No, I'm not seeing any. Thank you. Our last delegate on this item is CEO at Urban Insights, Ryan Mounsey. And he is also virtual. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, staff, and audience. After listening to the updates to today's meeting and reviewing the reports, I only have 4 quick points. First, I want to thank Deanne and her team for the accommodations that have been provided. I am gratefully thankful for broadening the definition of affordability, as I think it will advance housing of all different types and will prioritize housing that are best suited for the residents and future residents of Woolwich. This is moving in the right direction. Number 2, I'd like to comment that all housing could be treated as a community benefit, other than adding all these other items that could be applied. I would say that housing for all is a community benefit and something that we need to think about, just as a comment. Number 3, the affordability issue that I wrote in my letter and what I was going to present today has been addressed. Deanne and her teams have been able to incorporate this with a level of flexibility that will advance a range of housing that will support the Woolwich community. Number 4, this is a project that I represent for the last year. This project is almost shovel ready, and I would ask that we find the process to understand what is an allocation request. I represent Spurline Developments. They're building 3 fourplexes in St. Jacobs, and this is attainable housing. They're ready to build right now. And as a thoughtful, missing middle, gentle density infill project, Spurline Developments is working very hard to receive their last steps of the project to deliver, I'm going to say, 12 affordable, attainable units that are purpose-built rentals in St. Jacobs. And so this is a dire situation to activate capacity. I understand that 14% of the regional water allocation has been allocated to Woolwich. And I'm hoping that there's room for all, that we can move ahead with a range of housing projects that delivers a community benefit. Those are my comments. Happy to answer any questions, and just want to thank everyone for being proactive with this initiative. The tiered system is simple, and I think that's the success that's going to happen with moving forward. Thank you very much. I'm under the 6 minutes, and I am thankful for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No, I'm not seeing any. Thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you very much.
I understand there may be some people in the audience that would like to speak. I will ask council if you want to hear from the audience. I'll take it on nods. Are you good with that?
Yes, Mayor Shantz, we typically provide 5 minutes for unregistered delegates.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak to this? Hi, can you say your name and if you're representing
Yes,
company or
good evening. My name is Mary Falsco. I am a member of Trinity United Church. You will have seen other folks from our church who generally come to these meetings. They are all on vacation, and so I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of this project. I've been a member, I have lived here in Woolwich Township for 20 years and been a member of Trinity United Church for just as long. And I will say that having a church community that is welcoming, inclusive, and vibrant within the community was one of the reasons why I chose Woolwich Township as my home. I knew people that went to the church here, and also that this I'm not going to speak about this project. You all know it very well. the solicitor said, this has been a 9.5-year journey for us. It is a group of people who have been very forward-thinking in sustainability, not just for our church, but for the community. We heard earlier about issues of water quality by taking up agricultural lands for development. This is an infill project downtown Elmira, adjacent to shopping, transit, all the things that people need in a community, as well as building a purpose-built space that can be used by our congregation as well as the broader community. So I encourage council on behalf of Trinity United Church and our congregation to please pass this, this policy this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you for that. Is there anyone else?
Good evening. Thank you for indulging me. My name is Heather Price. I'm with GSP Group, and I'm here this evening on behalf of Schlegel Urban Developments. We're following along with this issue quite closely as it's quite impactful to our client, given their investments here in the Township of Woolwich, both in Elmira and in St. Jacobs. And we wanted to, I haven't made a written submission and I'm here to listen tonight, but I thought it's worthwhile to take the stand here, acknowledge the efforts of staff in putting this together. Truly collaborative. I think you're hearing from the other delegates too, a lot of appreciation for concessions that have already been made. So I don't have many requests before you this evening, but to echo that sentiment that we appreciate the work that staff have done on this very urgent issue. It's our understanding from reading the report that water allocation determination will be made quarterly once the allocation is provided by the region, and that those allocation decisions will be made based on the priorities set out in the policy. And we, on behalf of Schlegel, are okay with this approach. We think it makes good sense and that the priorities are in line with Schlegel's values and indeed will lead to allocations that are in the benefit of the public interest. We understand that some property-specific requests were made for council to consider tonight for a sort of a preliminary allocation. And I think it's important that council consider, there are a number of applications sort of coming along and will be coming forward with the appropriate applications for allocation when the time is right, including a number on behalf of Schlegel, including subdivisions in St. Jacobs as well as Elmira that we hope to be back before you about in due course. So to conclude, Schlegel is prepared to follow the process as outlined by staff in the staff report, and in the interest of really fairness and equity, that council refer to the requests that have come forward for early kind of allocation of water capacity, refer those back to staff to review in the context of the framework with regard for the priorities that have been outlined. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? Okay, thank you. There were just two. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for all your kudos to Deanne and her team. Appreciate that. And it's been a long 6 months, and it's good to see some things finally working their way through. Also, thank you for being brief, if I can say that. I've been in a lot of meetings. So there is a recommendation in front of council. Moved by Councillor Bryant, seconded by Councillor Grant. Is there any discussion? No? I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Tova. Sustainable Waterloo Region. We have the Executive Director of Sustainable Waterloo Region, Tova Davidson, for her annual update. Thank you for being patient while we go through this agenda.
No problem. I'm really happy to be standing. So thank you so much for having me today. Really happy to be presenting to you and to be bringing update from our evening of recognition that we held in April, and to be giving an update. Are the slides coming? Thank you. I know you've seen these things from me before, but I actually want to do it a little differently this year. So let's see. There we go. 2025 was a unique year for us, where we, during the pandemic years, sort of tried to, as I thought of it, keep the wheels on. But we actually saw that there was now need to do more. And we have actually we actually went full bore into scaling up, scaling wide, and scaling deep in the work that we do in this community. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. Not the average, this is what happened in our normal programs like we usually share. It does not seem to be. There you go. So if you listen to nothing else from me today, look at this slide. It is in the report that I had handed out to you. These are the impacts cumulatively over the year of what we did. And I'm going to talk about a few of these throughout my presentation tonight. But I think this is a really impactful one to sort of get an idea of what is the work that we're doing and how it has continued to shift and evolve. You'll see that we're now calling ourselves SWR. Very slowly, but suddenly all at once, it seems that there are neighboring communities are looking for the kind of help that SWR offers. And we are now serving Guelph Wellington, Perth, Oxford, Dufferin, and on and on. And so we are now calling ourselves SWR, but we are still very much founded and located in Waterloo Region. Some of the things that we've done to scale our impact. We launched an organics program in 2025, where we're collecting organic waste from multi-unit residential, schools, small businesses, and actually taking that organic waste to a digester and creating clean energy from it. This is a new social enterprise program that we're running, which was started by the Circular Innovation Council, and they knocked on our door to say, you're well known for creating good and engaging and successful social enterprises. Could you take this pilot and actually launch it? So we are serving many, many businesses and locations across the region, with the idea being that we are trying to fit the need where the region does not provide organics collection and where it is not actually large enough for that organization or that school to have a big contract with a big hauler, and can we help in the middle? One of the things that people love the most is we take the whole bin away and leave a brand new bin every time we pick it up, so it's never smelly and never festering as they tend to do. In the Impact Network program, of which the township is a very great member, and we're so thankful for Anna and the work she does there. We actually launched a new element of our Carbon Cleanse Challenge. So the Carbon Cleanse Challenge is an inter-member challenge to get their staff and employees engaged in sustainability work. There's no data to it, it's an engagement, and it's really, really fun for the month of October. And we actually launched a new platform called Engage, and every single employee of the township could get onto Engage, get that Impact Network Engage. I thought it was clever. But get in there and actually learn about what does sustainability mean, where do carbon footprints come from, what are the things you could do to reduce at work, at home, all that kind of stuff. It's a place for everybody to engage in the work of sustainability at work. Our Carbon Cleanse event this year had more than 1,000 submissions, lots of participating organizations, and we had Wood Rescue, which is an amazing champion in this community, create that a great trophy you see me holding, which will move around. So if you engage next year, it might live here. We also in the Impact Network have innovated with Explore Waterloo Region, and we helped to track, measure, monitor, plan, and then offset an entire conference last year. 3 days, all the transportation in, all of the hotel stays, all of the food, all of the emissions from the locations that the conference was being held in. And this was a really important one, as well as the Call of Duty conference, which happened at the Odd. We did the carbon footprinting and offsetting of that, including the streaming, which was quite an interesting thing to be doing. And so we are taking this idea of individual organization footprints and blowing it up. In fact, we're currently working on the carbon footprint of the Ontario Summer Games, which are coming in July. We'll see how that one goes. The Evolve One building, of course, is Canada's first net positive energy multi-tenant office building. SWR is so proud to be part of this story and this history, and we continue to report on how that building is doing. Last year, 108% of the energy needed on site was generated on site, and so it is feeding back to the grid, just proving that this is actually a great way to build and go forward. However, the Evolve One project taught us something, and that's that the building and development industry is not ready for what we see buildings are going to be doing by code by 2030. The National Harmonized Code is projected to be net zero, and we want to be able to help that sector. And so we launched Frameworks, which is Ontario's only building innovation exchange. There is one, the very first one in Canada was in Vancouver. There is now one in Alberta and one in Halifax, but the only one in Ontario is started right here in Waterloo Region. This is a partnership, and it is here to support the building industry, to understand how to make the good business case, how to do the kind of life cycle costing we did for Evolve. What are the new technologies? How do those technologies work? How do they interact with existing buildings? All of that sort of thing. We designed this program in partnership with the Grand Valley Construction Association and have an executive advisory committee, which is entirely from the sector. So it's not the environmentalists saying this is what the sector needs. We're saying the whole sector is telling us these are the things we need. We've had more than 500 people engage already. We have a building tour happening on Tuesday or on Thursday this week. And we ran an event last week. This is clearly a high need element for that sector to be able to do this. And while we were working on Frameworks, we realized that the business case isn't so easy. So now we are creating an AI tool supported by the Government of Canada to actually allow, and I'm going to use this building as an example, your amazing staff could put this building into the AI tool, put in your energy data, put in the things that you've done, put in your building renewal plan, and it will tell you what are the next things you should consider, what is the funding that is available, what are the technical pieces you need, and get you ready for that conversation with the engineer. You could then put the engineer's report in, and it would say, here are the technical specifications you're going to have to consider in the implementation of your next piece of the plan. This one project we're hoping will be, we are designing it, and we're hoping will scale nationally. It is funded by the Government of Canada and Arcan, and we are working with lots and lots of people across the community to make this happen, including WSP, the university, GVCA, of course, and then Efficiency Capital and Conestoga College. And our microforest program. Everyone loves a good microforest. We just wanted to celebrate in this one that at 2025, it was 5 years of the program. We've planted 55 forests in 5 years, and by the end of this year, we will be well over 75 forests. We're so grateful for the township to be a supporter of this and to have helped us get locations here in Woolwich, and I think it's just such a great way to get people involved. It's amazing when you get to see someone plant their very first tree. It's one of my favorite parts of the job. Finally, Climate Action innovated by bringing a community climate festival in September last year, and we're planning it again for 2026. We had more than 500 participants come out, and it was a free community event to let everybody come in and understand what does it mean to live a sustainable life, to work in a sustainable way. The Climate Action Program actually was a really interesting place to bring in education, to bring in artists, to bring in a little music festival, to have people come in and get some seeds and see how these trees get done, do a bike ride with a DJ playing, make sustainability fun. This is meant to be a movement that is good for people and have a joyous vision of the future. So I would love for you to join us on the 13th of September at Climate Fest this year coming. And we will be coming back with a re-inventory later this year for the whole community. And just to finish with a thank you, I think the work of sustainability is the work of hope, is the work of joy, is the work of community, is the work of a better community, and it's the work that you do here around this horseshoe. So thank you for all you do and for being such great partners.
Thank you for that. Are there questions? Councillor Cadeau.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you to Tova. Thank you. Your energy is contagious around this. So my question was around the green bin pilot. I imagine you wouldn't have the capacity to kind of expand that. But if it is a pilot, could you kind of project out what that could look like?
So yeah, through the mayor. So it is a fully running program now. So we have lots of capacity, would love to work with lots of people. The idea is that they are carts like you have at home now, but much, much larger. And it is a program that it provides the cart to the location, be it a business. It could be, we're actually talking to retirement communities. They've got lots of food waste there. And we actually have a food rescue element first. So if it's usable food, the food is rescued and given to people who need the food. We then use that bin and take the bin away and take it to the digester to create clean energy. I don't think there's much limit on how much we could do on this. We are working with a private hauler, and then we do all the education, training, measurement, monitoring, support for those organizations so that they don't have to have staff that know how to take care of all that. Thank you.
So larger housing units or businesses is what.
Yes,
that's for.
could be multi-unit residential, could be apartment buildings, could be townhouses where it's like a road in and it doesn't back out, so the region can't pick up in those. It's filling that need where there is not service now and making it easy to eliminate those emissions and to actually generate clean energy.
Cool. Anyone else? No. I have a question because I had someone ask me what we could do for the Elmira Maple Syrup Festival, and I do this at the risk of not having asked the committee that does all the work in the background. But you talked about conferences and working with conferences. So is that something that a service that you would provide if they were interested?
Great question, love it, and absolutely yes. So we work with impact events now on the Rib Fests. We're currently having conversations with Oktoberfest, how we can help them. Green Up Oktoberfest, things like diversion of waste and thinking about solar generation, that kind of thing. So I would be thrilled to talk to the Elmira Maple Syrup Festival.
Okay. I don't see any other questions.
Wonderful.
Thank you again for coming in, and
you.
I echo Councillor Cadeau's comments about your infectious energy.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Heritage Helping Housing Motion, Councillor Bryant.
Thank you. We have KLG here for us tonight. She's going to do a presentation. What she's with Architectural Conservancy, if I can talk, of Ontario, and they are advocating for the adaptive reuse of heritage and older buildings and turning them into housing. So I'm going to let Kay explain this. I think she can do it much better than I can. Can you hit the mic, Kay? Please.
Can you just turn it on? There we go. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so my name's Kay Elgie. I'm from the Architectural Conservancy Ontario, and I'm here to talk about this Heritage Helping Housing Building Grant. So it kind of picks on two things you've been talking about tonight, a lot about housing, but also you've been talking about sustainability and so on. And so this proposal that we've put together combines a lot of those things. We came up with this idea back in November and did a budget submission. And at that time, housing prices and healthcare were the top concerns. Right now, I think it's affordability is still number one, but housing is still there. So these are still the top of mind concerns for people. And what we did was put together a program that we think could solve some of these problems, provide more affordable housing, and also make it easier to do and avoid some of the issues you talked about tonight with water supply possibly, and so on. Because what we want to do is we propose that there be a provincial grant program that would support and encourage the creation of housing units in designated heritage buildings. And there are at least 8,000 properties that are designated as individually worthy of protection under Part 4, and another 30,000 in heritage conservation districts. So there's a big supply of these kind of houses. And what we would propose is that additional housing units be created in this. And we feel that that's a really good solution because these buildings are there already. The zoning is in place. And it would provide something that's affordable and equitable and sustainable. And there's an example, you may be familiar with St. Mark's Place in Kitchener. That's an example of a project because that was a building that was worthy, could have been designated, that did create affordable housing, 43 supportive housing units in that case. And so these are some of the reasons we think this is a good proposal. I mean, it could develop homes faster because we have, you'll see some pictures of other underutilized heritage buildings, including commercial buildings and so on, that could be repurposed. And it's often more affordable because often you avoid spending on the demolition costs and the costs of hauling off to our already overfilled or overfilling landfill sites. And particularly of interest is the fact that it's using existing buildings with existing materials that can be reused. But I think that one of the most compelling arguments is it uses local labor. And research has suggested that adaptive reuse projects are typically 65 to 75% labor compared to about 30% for new construction. And it tends to be local people and so on. So it's good for an Ontario First economic solution too. So back in 2014, the National Trust for Canada, which is a national heritage organization, did a survey of developers and asked them what would encourage you to add housing units to heritage buildings. And they said they would love it. A grant program would be great, but a few things. It had to be simple to administer and apply for. It had to have enough funding so that at least 33% of the applicants, like you'd have a 1 in 3 chance of getting funding for it. And so that's what we came up with, a program based on an existing grant program. It's in Alberta. And by the way, Ontario is the only province or territory that does not have a provincially funded program to encourage heritage, use of heritage buildings like this. I mean, they put it down to the municipalities, and I have a lot of sympathy for municipalities, you know, because you have so many calls on your tax base and your funding sources have been limited, you know. So this grant program would be simple to apply for and administer. It would encourage people to retain and renovate heritage buildings. It would pay 50% of the costs up to a cap for owners to renovate heritage buildings to create new housing units, and 50% of the grant would be paid on approval to help with the costs of borrowing. And to be eligible, the property would have to be designated or in the process of being designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act or within a heritage conservation district. And it must create new housing units with matching gaps capped at 100,000 per housing unit. And the work would adhere to the federal standards and guidelines for conservation of historic places in Canada. And we propose that 50% of the funding would be given up front and 50% on completion. Now we realize, of course, this is a budget proposal that we made, and you know the province, which hope will accept it. It seems like they may actually, that they will adapt it to make it useful for them. But here's just 3 examples of projects that could have benefited from such funding. The Working Center project that you're probably familiar, that was the former Mitchell Button factory. It has been designated and now provides 44 supportive housing units. Here's another one, St. Mary's, a typical challenge in a lot of municipalities is the upper story of the commercial Main Street. This became a heritage conservation district in St. Mary's, and apartments, 3 apartments were created in that building. And here's another one, quite different, 1930s Art Deco building that became 2-bedroom condos on the upper floors. So these are various examples of ones that we think could happen. And so what we had meetings with the Ministry of Finance staff. They asked us from the budget submission, and then then we met with the Ministry of Community and Social Services and so on. And they asked us, what do municipalities think about that? So that's why we've been going around to municipalities and getting motions like the one that Bonnie's going to move tonight. And so far, we've had that from 12 municipalities. We've had conversations with other ministers, and ACO leadership has been invited to come to AMO and talk about it there. So your motion would help. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions for Ms. Elgie? Councillor Bryant.
Thank you. Not a question, but a comment. We do have a lot of heritage buildings such as churches that are at risk of demolition, schools, et cetera. And this would be a good opportunity to designate and repurpose them for housing. So I think I will move the motion because I think it's one worth looking into.
Okay, you're seconding it? Okay, I don't see any questions for you, so you can sit down, thanks. Moved and seconded discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, thank you. Our consent agenda has, I think, 6 items on here. I think there are a couple that you've asked to pull. Evan?
Just pulling it up here, but I believe is the tar and chip one.
Okay, 4.4.3.1.
Yep.
And Nathan?
The next one, 4.4.3.2.
Okay. Can I have a motion for, well, let's talk about those and maybe we can move them all at once then. Councillor Burgess.
Thanks through you, Mayor Shantz, to probably Carter. I believe it was last year on Evening Star and a few other roads there in Conestoga. We did a similar surface treat, and there was issues with the aggregate and the emulsion. And I don't think we caught it in time, and there was a bunch of issues. And then when the snow plowing was done, it was all over the grass and yards of the residents there. So I'm just wondering for this time through, just wanting to make sure we're able to keep an eye on it and not going to have the same issues, and kind of, where are we at, and is it the same contractor?
For this program, it is a different contractor from the previous 2 years ago program that we did through Conestoga proper. We do have $15,000 identified for product testing, and that would be for the aggregate and the emulsions, 3 samples of each, I believe it is in the report. With that, we would be doing the testing. We never plan for failure, but we have identified for the testing in there to then try and be preemptive to make sure that we're getting the materials that we have, and that we won't have those failures from this project.
And then just to clarify, if there is a failure, what does that process look like? And are we able to rectify that quickly and easily?
Yeah, so going back to the issues that we've had before, then we have consultants that we would rely upon to do testing of the material prior to winter. The plan would be to then do some checks a little earlier in the season. That program before, we were doing the checks, I think it was like early November, and then we had different weather patterns, but we would be there earlier to make sure that that product is adhering as we want prior to winter. And then from there, we hope that the product would stay the same with the expectation that it will. We very seldom have those issues with the product. It's just seemed that program 2 years ago we did without our control.
Councillor Cadeau.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you to the rest of council. When it comes to this memo, fine with everything except for Schedule 12, which is an all-way stop at Barn Swallow and First Street West. There is a bit of rationale in the memo, but it's not. For me, this is a pretty central avenue for moving people throughout the town. And I would like a little bit more justification as to why this is warranted here. It's the only one I really have issue with, so if we could remove that one from this memo, would be more than happy to approve it.
Was there a question embedded in that?
Can we just remove this and
Okay.
then approve it?
I guess I've got the same concerns as Councillor Cadeau. I'm curious if we've done a consultation from the community in that area. That is a main commuter artery, and I'm not a traffic expert, so I want to understand better why a four-way stop is a good idea there. Is it strictly speed control? Is it because people are crossing on foot and can't get across? What's the reason behind it?
So who would, Mr. Tucker? Clerk Smith?
I'll try this one, Mayor Sean.
Okay.
Mr. Papay couldn't be here this evening, but I did have a conversation with him before the council meeting, and he said if council was uncomfortable with this amendment, it could always be removed from the bylaw, and he could bring back some more information in the future when he's present at a meeting. If you wanted to do that, I just recommend that council approve the consent agenda with Schedule 12 removed from the summary of traffic and parking bylaw amendments. And then also I'd make the same recommendation that when you move the bylaws this evening, it's the traffic and parking bylaw amendment as further amended to remove Schedule 12.
And did Mr. Poupey give any time frame when he might be able to report back on that?
No.
Okay. Thank you. So with that, does someone want to move Councillor Grant, Councillor Cadeau, moved as Clerk Smith just described? All those in favor? And that's carried, and then we'll get a timely reporting back from Mr. Poupey.
I'm sure.
I'll leave that with you.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, that takes care of the consent agenda. Unfinished business. We have whistle cessation considerations for at-grade crossings. And Mr. Tucker, that's what you're here for. You're up.
Good evening, Mayor Shantz, Woolwich Council members. Council previously requested additional information on potential costs and suggested next steps required to complete whistle cessation at township at-grade rail crossings at the June 9th council meeting. Staff engaged Ironwood Infrastructure, a rail engineering consultant, to prepare the attached memorandum, which highlights suggested next steps to be taken ahead of considering whistle cessation, as well as potential required costs to upgrade crossings. And with that, I will take any questions that council may have.
Okay, Councillor Schwint, I think this was yours.
Yep. One question, I'm talking to staff earlier, and suggestion made that we should be looking at the safety of all our rail crossings as a first step before predisposing which next steps we should take. Curious, do you have an estimate on the cost of doing those? I forget how many crossings staff said we should look at.
Through you, Mayor Shantz, Councillor Schwint. Are you just referring to the St. Jacobs area or the township in total? Sorry.
I thought we talked about the 8 or 9 in St. Jacobs, but I'm flexible.
So I'm aware that Mr. Poupey has engaged Ironwood to review our at-grade crossings for compliance. I don't have a cost for that, but definitely I can get back to council on that cost.
But definitely it's not the 10,000 per crossing, it's.
I don't believe it's that expensive. No, these are basic reviews to look for compliance, as well as a staff training component, so that we can complete these in the future by ourselves and not require a consultant.
Councillor Cadeau.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you to Mr. Tucker. Definitely appreciate the updated information. I think my concern is there's still a cost estimate of 180,000 to 560,000, which is a pretty huge range. Do we know specifically what the cost of the one location that residents delegated on, what that would need in terms of work to bring it up to par?
Through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Cadeau. If I had to hazard a guess, that existing crossing does have lights at it, but it does not have the gate arms. Based on my review, it looks like the bungalow, which is the controller for that system, would probably be inadequate. It looks fairly small in comparison to other ones I've seen for larger crossings. So I would anticipate that crossing would need at least the new gate arms and a new bungalow. We'd also have to do a trespassing assessment to see if we'd need fencing as well. So if I had to hazard a guess, you're probably one of the more expensive crossings, at least 750,000 to $1 million for that crossing, I would assume.
Wow. Councillor Bryant.
Thank you. I'm just looking in the report and I'm looking at the estimated costs for the high-speed crossing by Metrolinx, which is estimated at 514,000 versus the low-speed crossing. It's in the region of Waterloo at 341,500. Like those are to install everything and look after it. Like that's a huge cost per crossing. So I really question whether this is something that's viable for our township to even do, and that's one crossing.
Yeah, I concur with Councillor Bryan that at those numbers, it doesn't justify doing. However, we've got a whole bunch of crossings where we don't know what actually is required or what the safety situation is at them today, and therefore who may be responsible for what costs going forward. So my revised proposal to council would be recommend that staff be directed to do a evaluation of the safety of crossings in St. Jacobs, 8 or 9 of them, and report back by next April with a list of any deficiencies and what options may be possible to get other players to rectify deficiencies and improve the operation for the township residents at minimal cost.
Recognizing that that doesn't really deal with the question of cessation.
It doesn't get us there, but it starts the process because on its own, we can't afford to do cessation. Maybe this brings other players into the fold.
Okay, Councillor Bryant.
Do we know what the cost of running that program would be? I'm reluctant to spend a lot of money on something that may produce results we don't want. Like, could this be a $200,000 project or is this $10,000? Like, without cost, I'm a little reluctant to agree to that type of a motion.
Mr. Tucker.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Bryant. Like I said, I will commit to bringing those costs back to council. I don't believe it is a lot of money, but I will bring those costs back to council as soon as I have them.
Councillor Burgess.
Through you, Mayor Shantz, just whether it's Ryan or Councillor Schwint, what's the goal of the study? Like we were focused on this one location, now we're all of a sudden looking at all the railways. Like what are we hoping to find or rectify?
So I guess intent would be find out where we're at. Some of these crossings, if they are deficient, the example I use is the King Street one based on the regional traffic study several years ago. It didn't warrant upgrades based on new traffic conditions, and it's conditioned because it's an angle and various other factors. If it's deficient, we may need to have upgrades there at regional expense or the railway's expense, I don't know. If that's the case, we may get Westall cessation as a byproduct.
Councillor Grant.
If we're doing this assessment of railway crossings, should we be limiting it to just St. Jacobs or should we be doing it across the township? I know Breslau has brought forward the question of whistle cessation, and as that is a growing area of the township, it might warrant looking at crossings in that area.
Mr. Tucker, what do you think?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Grant. Apologize for not having the information on hand, but I do believe that Ironwood has been engaged to review all of our at-grade crossings. Again, I'd have to confirm that with Mr. Pape and provide a cost to council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Burgess, Councillor Bryant.
Through you, Mayor Shantz, to Ryan. So just clarity again on this. If we go through this study, is there other municipalities that have done this and seen CN or the region or someone cover the costs of putting in the arms or lights or any of the whistle cessation, or is it strictly we find something that's now on us?
Through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Burgess. I I believe the crossings, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. The regional crossings, we have requested from the region to get their compliance reviews. So once we have those, we can have Ironwood review them to see if those crossings are in compliance. If they're not in compliance, I think we would, at that point, we would request that the region updated those as the road authority to be in compliance for those specific regional crossings.
An email I sent to the region, they replied that if it's our request, then we have to pay for it. But I think if it's a required update, then that's different. Yes, I'm seeing some nodding.
Yeah, I would agree with that, yes.
Okay, you made a motion, I believe. Or,
Yep, I made a motion to have staff review the safety compliance of those grade crossings. I think throughout the township is the right answer, and report back by April.
by April.
I was trying to capture, I think, what you said, Councillor Schwint. Did you say by April 2027?
And not respecting whistle cessation, report concerning that. Right.
Sorry, yeah, I was just referencing the report. So the report that Mr. Poupé wrote was to receive for information. Instead of just receiving it for information, you were thinking of directing staff to complete compliance reviews.
And is that dependent on the cost that Mr. Tucker's bringing back to us? Do you want that in there?
There should be a cost component, yeah, because I'm not wanting to spend 10,000 per crossing. I was hoping to spend 10,000 total.
A cost estimate for the review. Councillor Cadeau is seconding. Okay, any further discussion? Councillor Burgess, Councillor Bryant.
Can I recommend a deferral or a wait and see what the cost is before we approve this? Because this, I don't know what appropriate cost means if it's not coming back to us. And if it's a larger cost, should it be wait till budget time? Because no one's.
I think the intent was to have that cost. What's the best way to handle this?
Through you, Mayor Shantz, you could do a deferral. Technically, if it's a motion to defer, it does come before any motion that's moved. I'm not sure what the urgency is. Oh, sorry.
I think I have an idea on that. Subject to a budget of $10,000. If staff can't do it within that budget, report back to us in August, and we can reconsider. Yep.
Yeah.
But if it's not, they can proceed because this is going to be almost as long and painful as the water has been. So I'd like to see staff start.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Did you have some? No. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, thank you. Then we are moving to sidewalk snow clearing, and I will call on Manager of Operations and Infrastructure Services, Carter McGuire.
Thank you, Mayor, and to you, Council. In front of you is report IS 18-2026 for the Elmira Snow Clearing Program. I'm going to start with some background. So plowing of all sidewalks in Elmira was enacted in 2005 through the use of contracted services, with the program being funded by all property owners within the settlement of Elmira. The program has gone through many iterations over the years, which did result in the township specifying the type of equipment required. That was based on the varying widths of sidewalk throughout the settlement of Elmira. Over the last decade or so, the tender was awarded to the same contractor. Elmira has grown substantially since 2005 with a population of over 12,000 people, and this type of program does not exist anywhere else within the region of Waterloo. The last tender award which was to report IS 19-2025, only received one bid, and the subsequent program experienced many challenges this past winter. The program has become increasingly more laborious as Elmira has grown. Service delivery and resident expectations continue to deviate. Based on the amount of feedback received over the years and acknowledging this past year's service delivery, it can be construed that discontinuing the Elmira sidewalk snow clearing program would be favorable, as it would be said that Elmira has outgrown this service. The current contract has been terminated and the township no longer has a service provider for this program. Should the Elmira program cease to exist, the township would need to contract service for all public-facing sidewalk, including backlotted properties along Whippoorwill Drive and Barn Swallow Drive. This would require an amendment to bylaw number 55, 2009, our sidewalk snow removal bylaw, to include these exemptions. The township is anticipating an additional cost to the winter control budget of $85,000. This would have Elmira treated the same as all the other settlements within the township. The township in its final year is in its final year of its sidewalk snow clearing contract for the other settlements within the that we have. As such, staff are recommending that the current contractor for Conestoga, Heidelberg, and St. Jacobs, which is Mitchell Property Maintenance Incorporated, be awarded the work in Elmira for this season. Elmira would then be included in the upcoming tender call in the spring of 2027. So to be clear, that work in Elmira would be just for properties owned by the township, which would include all of our facilities and properties managed by REC, as well as some backlotted properties that are, it's a common practice in other settlements that we clear certain sidewalks that are separated by fence. The 2026 budget amount for sidewalk snow removal was $300,000. For this amount, together with $150,000 plus deficit from the 2025, was levied, and the charge would appear on the 2026 final tax bills mailed at the end of June for the residents of Elmira. That's through the special service levy. The proposed $85,000 for the remaining public-facing sidewalks would be included in the 2027 general levy, consistent with how snow clearing costs are funded in Conestoga, Heidelberg, Maryhill, Bloomingdale, St. Jacobs, and Breslau. So staff recommend that the Elmira sidewalk snow clearing program be discontinued and that only public-facing sidewalks or backlotted properties along Whippoorwill Drive between Arthur Street South and Whippoorwill Drive, and Barnswallow Drive between Whippoorwill Drive and Church Street West be cleared through the contracted services. The remaining locations would need to be cleared by the abutting and adjacent landowners or occupants, which would align with the remaining settlements in the township. So in front of you, there are 5 recommendations to approve. And from there, I would take any questions. If you have financial questions, Teresa Armstrong and Richard are here to assist with that.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Councillor Grant.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. McGuire. If you could speak a little bit on some of the challenges, maybe just for residents to understand kind of the challenges with getting requests for proposals and maybe why we're seeing less applicants for bids.
The longstanding contractor that we had for roughly the decade, they put a significant financial investment in purchasing equipment specified in our contract to be able to manage the varying widths of our sidewalk to limit some of the damage. To be able to bid on that work, that upfront investment is needed by the contractor to be able to perform that work, to be able to meet our specifications. So I believe that is part of the issue that we're receiving the limited bids. Again, we put it out as an open tender process and received only one bid. In years prior to that, we'd only received one bid as well. It was not unheard of to only have one person bid on that program because of the needs to try and limit some of the damage to our sidewalks within the settlement. I think this season would speak to that we saw varying pieces of equipment and we had increased number of complaints come through. I think we went from 17 complaints the previous year to 400 or so complaints in this past season.
Thank you. And I think just to council, I know that insurance for snow clearing operations is a dying game, I guess, with the insurance industry, and that it's not uncommon that snow clearing is becoming less of a popular operation for any sort of provider.
Councillor Bryant, Councillor Cadeau.
Thank you. Through you to Carter or financial staff, whoever can answer. How much did it cost us to repair the damage done this year to properties? Do we have an estimate of that dollar amount?
I can take a guess. I think it was 18,900 roughly, just under 19,000 for repair.
So that's what it
damage.
cost the township to repair the damage.
Correct, for the locations that were brought forward through the program and then through that period that we advertised for complaints.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cadeau.
Thanks, Mayor. I think that sidewalk safety and accessibility is what's really the main question here. I think that my concern, though, is that our current contracted model didn't even come close to delivering a reliable service. As we've heard here today, there's also real limits on the contractor market. So I think that we need to weigh the accessibility and the safety value of the service and whether the current model is still affordable and reliable enough to continue. Based on what I've seen, I think that we could ensure safety and accessibility in other ways, aside from the contractor model that we've been going. I can speak for myself in clearing my own driveway over this past winter. Probably did it more often than the contractor did, and I'm sure I'm not the only one in the town that would be saying that. I know it's a difficult change for a lot of people to go from having it cleared to not, but I would hope that the town's resourceful enough to figure out ways that we could pull together and get those sidewalks cleared in other ways.
Councillor Burgess, you look like you were ready to say something.
Through you, Mayor Shantz. Just reading through Facebook, there's a lot of comments that were made, and appreciate Councillor Grant and addressing some of those and whatnot. But just some of the comments were, is there other ways we can look at doing this? Could the township itself buy snow equipment and have our staff do it, or other options like that? Could you touch on why that is or isn't an option?
To be able to use internal resources, first off, it would be the purchase of the equipment, which would be a large investment for the township. I know to purchase that item, because it's very specific to snow clearing, the hourly rate cost on that unit, because it's only used in the winter, is quite high to be able to repay an original asset investment to get those units. Two, our current staffing complement only allows us to have not even enough staff to fill our road plow routes. So to be able to bring in the additional staff to do that work, because it's not a daily thing, like through a winter season, you'd have only 26 or 28 events through from January till March. It's not an everyday item that we're out clearing the snow. Like the contracted work was designed based on the sidewalk snow clearing bylaw, which is to clear the snow within 24 hours of a certain threshold falling, which is the same as what's put on a property owner these days. Like if you are a private resident in the other settlements, that same requirement is put on you to clear the snow in front of your home, no different than what the program was designed to do. To bring it in-house would be a significant cost and increase to our tax levy to do that, just to be able to carry the staff load to do that. I know there's the option. I've worked with a municipality that they tried to bring in contracted staff to do the work, because it was work where they're only called upon when required. It was very hard to keep qualified staff to do that work and have them familiar with the routing as they went out to do the work. Very high damage with that as well.
Councillor Cadeau, Schwint, and Grant.
You had mentioned no other townships or cities in the region contract out, but do the cities deliver these services in-house?
So just for clarity, it's no other municipalities deliver the service that we're doing all of the sidewalks. The other municipalities, the larger cities, do have staff that carry through seasonally. They perform the work on the municipality-owned properties, similar to what we would do here, use through contracted services. Some of the municipalities do have that as an in-house work that they do. But their staffing complement allows them to do that, they've already made that upfront investment. They also utilize that equipment for other things through the season that helps offset the price of those units.
So that's public facing only, not private then?
Correct.
So we wouldn't be able to service level agreement with them? Okay.
No.
Councillor Schwint.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And if we go ahead with canceling the service, what plans have staff initiated in terms of community engagement, working with church groups or other associations to partner willing snow shovelers with elderly or people who can't do it themselves? I'd hate for our first response to be send bylaw out, because that's not the answer. This is June now. We've got 5 or 6 months to think creatively and start building links between different groups. And have we started working on that?
Clerk Smith.
Through you, Mayor Shantz, when Carter was working on this report, he brought a small team together at the township to look at things like communication, finances, and then the impact to residents that this would have. Bylaw enforcement staff have been on the team. They want to take an education first approach, and they also want to start looking at what other community supports there could be. Some municipalities, whether it's the municipality themselves or in partnership with community support associations, run things like a Snow Angels program or some other supports that would help residents who are older or who may have mobility issues and can't do their own sidewalks. So really what the group recommended bringing forward was this recommendation now. If this recommendation comes forward, the team has a few months before the winter season to start getting those programs and services up and running, especially for the first year, which, as council's noted, would be probably a big transition year for some people who have been used to having this service for several years.
And are any resources required to accomplish that, other than staff time?
At this point, we don't know that yet. It'll depend on the amount of the program and services that we're looking into, but it's definitely something we'll be bringing back to council.
Councillor Grant.
To switch back to the gears we were on, I just wanted to discuss a little bit about if we were to bring in the house, knowing that we would have a significant upfront cost to buy equipment and that we would see a staffing increase subsequently. I would assume that cost would be borne by all residents in the township, that I don't think, or it would significantly increase the service levy that Elmira residents are seeing. So why I appreciate the discussion around whether or not we could take on that role. I think it would be grossly unfair to do it for Elmira and not for the rest of the township. And I think we would hear quite vivacious opinions about that from the rest of the township. So I wouldn't be able to support that because I think that cost would be borne by a larger tax base, which just wouldn't be fair.
Okay. Councillor Bryant.
Just a comment. Villages have always been clearing their own sidewalks, and I think it comes to a matter of community helping others. Like I know where I live, if somebody's not able to do it, the neighbors all help out. Everybody makes sure the elderly are looked after and the people that can't do it get the help they need. So I think it becomes a matter of community, people helping people. And I think that's what needs to happen.
Maybe just to echo on that, I also saw the Facebook comments that Councillor Burgess referenced, and I think there was some good suggestions there. An excellent way for high school students to earn either community hours or some funds during the winter months.
Councillor Cadeau.
Thanks, Mayor. I was just going to suggest something. Yeah, I was. What it was, can't remember though.
What? Sorry, what's That's still on. Yeah. Okay. Did you think of it?
I did,
Go.
yes. Elmira is the only town that has been getting this service. Do any of the other settlements have programs like Snow Angels or something that we could pull from, copy?
Through Chance, the there are some programs run, especially by Community Care Concepts. So we want to look into that and see if we can expand programs like that and what the township can do to partner with them to sort of build programs that are existing already. Didn't want to go too far down that road until council made a decision, but again, staff will have a few months to help prepare for that and bring it back to council before the winter season.
Thank you.
There is a recommendation in front of you, Councillor
I
Graham.
was gonna say, I'll be the bad guy in motion for it.
Seconder, Councillor Bryant. Further discussion? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Tough one, but it's been a tough winter, and you know, I like Councillor Bryant's comments about helping each other out. So, yeah. Climate action update. I will call on Climate Action and Sustainability Coordinator, Anna Harrison.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Shantz, members of council. I'll try to be brief. So I'm here tonight to provide council with an update on Woolwich's 2025 corporate and community greenhouse gas emissions, highlight progress on the Woolwich Climate Action Plan and the Transform WR strategy, and share our priorities for the year ahead. It's been a strong year of momentum, and I'm really excited to share with you what we have accomplished. So our work is guided by clear targets. For corporate operations, we are aiming to reduce emissions 20% by 2030 from a 2022 baseline. And for the community, the council endorsed region-wide targets are 50% by 2030 and 80% by 2050, both from a 2010 baseline. Corporate emissions rose 6.4% this year, which is also 126 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent increase. And this is driven largely by the colder winter that we have and the higher electricity emissions. We will need to reduce, We will need to reduce roughly 400 tons over the next 4 years to meet our 20% target. A climate action project that I'd like to highlight is the cold water ice resurfacing project that was completed at St. Jacobs Arena in late 2025. This is a good example of one of those kind of low-hanging fruit projects that makes a really big impact. So switching from hot water to cold water to flood the ice cuts energy use, lowers costs, and reduces emissions with no impact on ice quality. It's a practical, low-cost improvement that delivers measurable results. And as this project was completed at the end of 2025, we expect to see those results in 2026, but it is projected to have a significant reduction in natural gas and electricity emissions. Corporate momentum was strong this year. We installed heat pumps at 3 facilities, introduced organics collection, and enhanced our recycling operations. We also replaced 2 gas vehicles with hybrids, continued some LED upgrades, and most recently, with council's approval, we are going to be installing EV charging stations at 2 municipal facilities. So these incremental actions mark a real shift in how our facilities operate and will operate in the future. Our greenhouse gas reduction targets cover all major emission sources, including transportation, buildings, homes, waste, and agriculture. And the regional data that's collected by the region every 2 years shows that transportation and buildings and homes account for about 94% of our total emissions. So this makes gasoline and natural gas key areas of focus when we're talking about reductions. Our natural gas consumption, which is actual data that we get from Enbridge every year on our community footprint. So we've reached 57.5 million cubic meters, which is about 110 tons of carbon dioxide equivalents. And this was an increase of 10%. Again, due to the same reasons our corporate rose, weather patterns, and growth within the township as well. So meeting our 50% target by 2030 now requires reducing roughly 38 million cubic meters of natural gas. Our community engagement also expanded significantly last year. The township joined Quest Canada's Net Zero Community Accelerator Program. We launched the Climate Smart Schools grant program, hosted 6 community events, started a climate action newsletter, and added climate education to our tax bills. The events that we hosted last year brought in approximately 140 attendees. And all these initiatives are bringing in residents, schools, and businesses directly into our climate action efforts. External grants continue to accelerate our work. By leveraging this funding, we extend local dollars further and take on projects that might otherwise be out of reach. Every grant dollar translates directly into emissions reductions in a more resilient community, and we'll be continuing to pursue these opportunities. Oh, sorry, I think that was mixed up. Looking ahead, we are exploring how we can integrate environmental and climate impact into our capital project justification to prioritize highest impact projects. We're going to be exploring climate levy funds for community initiatives, complete a solar PV analysis for municipal facilities, and identify adaptation measures such as shade structures in community areas, flood and wildfire education, and tree planting. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, they're mixed up order there. Thank you. I can now take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Councillor Grant.
I just want to say thank you to Anna for her work on this. I think the retrofit of the St. Jacobs Arena is a really good win for us. And I think there's going to be some significant financial wins with the heat pumps installed at 3 facilities. I also wanted to say I'm really glad to see the natural gas data being specific to Woolwich. I think that's been something that we've been really needing, and we're only as good as our data. So having something specific is really helpful in us kind of monitoring our progress essentially. And then of course, everyone loves to see grant funding come in. So that's always appreciated as well.
Any other questions? There's a recommendation there. Moved by Councillor Grant, seconded Councillor Cadeau. Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks for all the work. It's a sort of a diverse and varied file, and so really appreciate your work. Next are the bylaws. We have, so there was a change to one of them. Do you want to articulate that for us?
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. That's exactly I wanted to point out before council considered moving and seconding the bylaws. Bylaw 34/2026 is the one council previously requested regarding the traffic and parking bylaw amendment. It would be a further amendment to remove Schedule 12 of that bylaw.
Okay, mover. Councillor Grant, Councillor Bryant, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So rather than moving into committee of the whole, because the agenda is really very light, we're just going to carry on in council. So we have no committee of the whole business. Mayor's report on regional matters. I would say the majority of my time is being spent on the water issues, and we had a pretty good presentation tonight on that. So that would be my my report there, and I do forward the summary from our meetings for your information. Any council reports? None. Outstanding activity list. There's no items pulled, no items for information or public notices. So I do believe that brings us to the end of the regular council meeting. And it's the end of June. We get summer because our next regular session is Tuesday, August 11th. So have a good summer. Enjoy time in the weather, whatever it turns out to be, and with your families and friends. And would someone like to make a motion to adjourn? Councillor Cadeau and Councillor Grant. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. On behalf of council, we thank everyone who watched the meeting and the many who took the time to participate and join us here. Good night, everyone, and have a great summer.